Hello and welcome to Breaking Bread with Rivaj Maharaj, where nothing is off the table. For today's episode, I want to talk on the breaking news that is coming out of the United States regarding an American assault on the Iranian Kharg island. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Donald Trump has literally just put out a post on Truth Social where he has claimed that the Americans have struck the Iranian island known as Kharg Island. Now, this is a significant development because Kharg Island is responsible for where up to 90% or more of Iranian oil exports emanate from. It's centered just within the Hormuz Strait and just off the coast of Iran. And it's quite a fortified island, as you can imagine, because of the value in terms of the economic value it has to the Iranian regime. And if 90% or more of Iranian oil is shipped out of there, then it is a hugely vital asset.
The US president says American forces have obliterated all of Iran's military defences on Kharg Island, the primary terminal for the country's oil exports. Kharg Island is vital to the Iranian regime's energy trade, with 90% of the country's oil passing through the island's terminal. Posting on social media, Donald Trump says he's chosen not to attack the island's oil infrastructure, but warns he'll reconsider if the regime interferes with the free and safe passage of ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is blocking the strait, effectively strangling 1/5 of the world's oil supply. Despite repeatedly claiming the US is dominating Iran militarily, President Trump wouldn't say when he believes the conflict will end.
I have my own idea, but what good does it do? It'll be as long as it's necessary. They've been decimated. Their country's in bad shape. The whole thing is collapsing. If you read some of the fake news, it's like, oh, they're doing wonderfully. They're not doing wonderfully. They're doing the opposite. They're doing as bad as you can have. I would say this. I won't give you time, but we're way ahead of schedule.
After a fortnight of war, at least 2,000 people have been killed, with most casualties recorded in Iran and many in Lebanon. The number of American soldiers killed has climbed to 13, with the US military confirming all 6 crew members aboard a refuelling aircraft died when it crashed in western Iraq. In another sign of the potential for further escalation, there are reports out of the US that at least 2,500 Marines and 1 amphibious warship are being relocated to the Middle East from their current deployment in Japan.
The United States has also confirmed that it is sending 5,000 Marines and sailors to the Middle East. A sizable portion of these are being redirected from the Philippines down to the Gulf region, and this is in anticipation of possibly troops being put on the ground. However, I suspect that these troops are being sent to the region as a result of the strikes on Kharg Island. So the military targets on Kharg Island have been decimated. That means that the US will probably airlift troops into or onto the island so that the island can be secured, which will then allow the United States to control the oil supply out of Iran from Kharg Island. Don't forget, 90% of Iranian oil passes out of that island. But you must understand that the position of this island, as well as its proximity to the Iranian mainland and its proximity to incoming drone and missile attacks, is extremely close. I fear that this is opening a can of worms, really. Also, there's been no confirmation out of Iran that the island has been hit. Just to put that out there, I really suspect that the Americans are going to put these Marines on the island to protect the oil infrastructure and to control the flow of oil out of Iran. I think the U.S. thinking behind this is if that they can control the island and control the oil supply out of Iran, then they've cut off any funding to the government or to the Iranian regime by way of oil that is being sold from the island at present. Now, the Americans have refrained from striking oil targets up until now. If you recall, I think it was yesterday or the day before, when I think an Israeli bombing campaign uh, struck some oil facilities within Iran. The Americans asked the Israelis to refrain from targeting oil facilities. And we'll read out Donald Trump's Truth Social post just so you have an idea, because he has specified that the Americans have taken out military bases on Kharg Island. Now, I have no doubt that there would have been military bases there because of the vital economic importance of Kharg Island to the Iranian state and to the Iranian economy. It would be natural to have had some military presence there. However, I think it was yesterday that an Iranian minister in parliament stated that, and he didn't mention specifically the Kharg Island, but he mentioned that should any of those islands be interfered with and the oil facilities be tampered with or destroyed by the Americans, then his words were, and I paraphrase, that American blood will flow in the Gulf region. So this is a huge escalation in terms of targeting facilities in within Iran, and this is just now ramped up to the next level. So let's have a look at what Donald Trump's Truth Social post had to say. In Donald Trump's Truth Social, President Donald Trump said on Friday, U.S. Central Command carried out a major bombing raid on Iran's Kharg Island, adding American forces destroyed all military targets on the island while deliberately avoiding oil infrastructure. Moments ago, at my direction, the United States Central Command executed one of the most powerful bombing raids in the history of the Middle East and totally obliterated every military target in Iran's crown jewel, Kharg Island. Our weapons are the most powerful and sophisticated that the world has ever known, but for reasons of decency, I have chosen not to wipe out the oil infrastructure on the island. However, should Iran or anyone else do anything to interfere with the free and safe passage of ships through the Straits of Hormuz, I will immediately reconsider this decision, Trump posted on Truth Social. Now, there's a few telling details within his Truth Social post, and the first is where he says that should Iran or anyone else. So this is clearly a message for the Iranian regime, but also, I suspect, for any Iranian proxies or any Iranian enablers that would be willing to take advantage of this situation within the Hormuz Strait. He's also indicated in this post that, well, he says out of decency, he's avoided striking the oil infrastructure. But should there be any retaliation regarding these strikes, then he will reconsider that decision. Now, one has to imagine that the Iranians would have prepared for such an inevitability because, if the regime is not caving in, then you want to cut off all the lifelines to the regime. This significantly hampers any economic benefit that the Iranians would have from their oil sales in from this island, because if this island was responsible for transporting up to 90% of the oil out from Iran to the wider world, then striking this infrastructure severely incapacitates the regime economically. Also, there's been mention that since this war began, the fact that the Straits of Hormuz have become really dangerous, the Iranians have managed to smuggle out more oil than prior to this war starting. I have no doubt in my mind that there is going to be massive retaliation from the Iranians. Incidentally, Doha, quite a few places within Doha, the city in Qatar, have been evacuated. There's been attacks. I think missiles have been launched on the Qatari capital. So, I have no doubt that the Iranians are going to really up the ante. You must remember that for the Iranians, it's an existential fight in terms of the regime. The regime is fighting for its very survival. This is the biggest threat the regime has faced since it's coming into existence. It's gone to war with Saddam Hussein, and there were proxies of the different superpowers at the time, and there were a lot of proxy battles being fought. However, a direct threat to this regime and the stability and existence of this regime, I would wager that this is by far the greatest threat this regime has ever faced. So, this being an existential fight for the survival of this regime, I have no doubt that the Iranians are going to up their ante. I think that they're going to go into full-on attack mode, because it's probably tantamount to a do or die moment. So we're going to keep a close eye on this, and we'll update you accordingly. I want to thank you for taking the time to spend with us, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, as it helps us with the algorithm and it helps our channel to grow.